Hi there, my name's Trinka and I'm the Consumer Engagement Coordinator here at NADA. I have some lived experience of accessing a numerous range of drug and alcohol services. My role here as the Consumer Coordinator has multiple functions. One of them is to provide a consumer perspective on some of NADA's resources and projects. I also go out and speak to consumers of different member organisations to receive their feedback on their experiences of treatment. One of the primary functions of my role is to raise awareness of the value of consumer participation within our AOD sector, and to support our member services in building their capacity to incorporate consumer participation strategies within their services. I think consumer involvement in the drug and alcohol sector is really important. Just like in the mental health and disability sector, I feel it's important that people who are accessing drug and alcohol services have a say in how that treatment is delivered. As somebody who's accessed drug and alcohol treatment services in the past, I think it's really important for from a clinician's perspective to keep in mind are to prepare the person for what's about to take place. That, you know, if it's going to be a long intake and assessment process, to just kind of acknowledge this and offer, if the person needs a break in between, that's totally okay. To also flag that there will be some sensitive questions that are going to be asked, and the purposes for these questions being asked. For example, it will be to identify some areas that might need support. If some of that information is going to be used for data collection purposes, it's important also to let the person know this. Another thing to keep in mind, I think, is creating a safe space. I've had the experience where I've been in an assessment process and it's been in a very busy office with people walking past, and I felt that there was a lot of distractions and it made me feel quite unsafe. I think it's important for the person to feel that they have the clinician's undivided attention. I think another important thing to consider is, if a person does disclose something sensitive, it's important just not to skip over that and move on to the next question, to acknowledge that, show some empathy, and maybe open up for a bit of a conversation if appropriate. And next up, we're going to hear from 3 individuals who have lived experience, and they're going to talk about what they feel is important when asking sensitive questions.
I am fine with being asked sensitive questions. That is, after all, what a support worker or a clinician is there to do. We're there to talk about sensitive topics. It's not easy, but it's core to what has to happen in those relationships. But it is the way it's asked and the time, just a little bit of time.
I think just being more aware that this person may have never talked about this issue. A worker talks about it all day and has heard it all, but for a client, it's the first time maybe stepping inside of a room and talking about it or being asked that sort of a question, especially with sensitive topics like abuse and rape and stuff like that. It's quite triggering for people.
First, I want a basis of trust, and rapport with that person. I want to know why they want that information, where it's going to be, what's the benefit for me and others in giving this information. I don't want to be judged by what comes out of my mouth. So it's a range of things, and it's also about being in a comfortable setting, in a confidential setting. And these things are important. You don't want the receptionist coming past and hearing what you're saying, for instance. And these things are really important in rural areas in particular, where we've got lack of services. A lot of people know each other, so accessing a service can even just accessing can mean that everyone in that community knows about it. Respect, and how you display that respect is by not reacting. You know, if I'm going to be asked a sensitive question, I want to know beforehand that this question, you might find it sensitive, but the reason I'm asking is because whatever that is. And not reacting, you know, that reacting, there's a look that comes with it. And it's that look of, you know, they don't really understand or want to understand how you're responding. So it's important, you know, to remain professional, you know. So, and informed consent, you know, is really up there.